And we are live. Welcome to another edition of the Astro Weather. I am Robert Phoenix. And behind me, we have a lovely sunrise on Lahaina. Or at Lahaina on Maui. And a different kind of sky. They will never see the same sky that they have seen before. Had a very interesting conversation with a native of Lahaina. My hat looks funny. I'm a fucking Virgo sometimes, you know, and I'm not happy with this hat, but I'm not going to get up and change it because I can live with imperfection. And if you know me, you know that I'm pretty imperfect. Anyway, I had a great conversation with somebody from Maui yesterday, and they are actually off the island for now, but are returning next week. And she's been getting all kinds of updates from people on the island. And boy, it is just really a major fuck story. I'm going to get into more of that on 15 minutes today after the show and give people some updates, some boots on the ground kind of stuff. And she's lived there for the last 22 years, and she's going to start. She's really tapped in. She has a healing center there in Maui, and knows a lot of people, and she knows some very powerful um, medicine women in the Hawaiian tradition as well. So hopefully, some of the is really about logistics and also the deeper spiritual and psychic realms of what's taking place. I mean, it's nobody likes to see anything burn out. I mean, that's just horrible. Lives are lost, and you know, fire, you know, or less time to smoke, and then you're conscious of everything. By fire is horrible, absolutely horrible, and then walking behavior. I had And we're back. Huh. Well, that was a journey. Anyway, wow. So just to give you a heads up on the Maui stuff, which is where I left off. So I have a pipeline, and I'm looking to get some really good, robust information over the next few days, and even leading into next week when um, this person that I'm becoming acquainted with returns to the island. So stay tuned to 15 Minutes of Flame to get the latest updates for what's happening in China and on the island of Maui and in the island chain itself. Anyway, thanks for being patient and thanks for being here. Let's get into the Astro Weather. Other than the uh, the streamists interrupt us, we have good weather today. We have there's a little bit of a high pressure front. I like that. We're going to call this square right here a high pressure front because there is this fixed friction going on with Jupiter and Uranus, and it's like, okay, I've had enough. I've had enough. I've had enough. We got the new moon in Leo, and people are just like, let's go, let's go. It's time. It's time to like shake off the shackles. This at some point, humanity is going to have to like break the cuffs. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of this episode of Superman that I watched when I was a kid, and this was the George Reeves version of Superman, right? And in this episode of Superman, there was a guy who was, I think he was either some kind of voodoo character or he was a hypnotist. I think he was a voodoo character, and he had hypnotized everybody like Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen and all these people that they were handcuffed, and they were in this trance and they were walking around with handcuffs on. And Clark Kent slash Superman sees what's happening, and eventually he breaks them out of the trance, right? And I think that that's really where we are. You know, we're all walking around with these imaginary handcuffs on because we've all been hypnotized by whatever, right? And now we keep having a series of shocking events. And the shocking events are these absolute slaps in the face with so-called reality. And we're here now, right? We are here on this new moon, and there's Venus retrograde and the sun right there at 23 Leo squaring off against Uranus and Jupiter. And cry freedom, right? Cry freedom. This is where we're at right now. And a lot of times we'll look at these aspects and we'll say, okay, well, they're transits, and they're transits for a reason. Transits is short for transitory, right? And you can throw transitional into the kind of um, the word tree, right? The etymology. But transits are important because if you take advantage of transits, they can be very useful applications for your life. And even midterm transits like Jupiter transits or Saturn transits that are theoretically positive, or let's say you have a Pluto transit that's positive, your job is to integrate that transit into your life, right? Yeah, you get to use it for a while, but the idea is to go deeply so that that Pluto, say Jupiter trine in your chart at that time becomes part of your life. Like that's the whole idea here. Like over the course of your life, even if you have a shitty chart, you're going to have some good transits. So take advantage of the transits and integrate them. Today is one of those days. Today is shaking off the shackles and the chains. It's right there. And it could be a little bit shocking. Here's the deal. Sometimes in order to shake off the shackles and the chains, you have to uh, really stare down your relationship with materiality. Because those are the handcuffs in a lot of ways. There's materiality. And yeah, we live in a time where it looks like humanity is about to get laid off due to the rapid rise in the technological evolution of AI and robotics. But there are still plenty of things as a human that you can do. And in fact, the more that you can do now as a human, the better off you're going to be. So we have this grand trine energy, which is fantastic, right? It's Earth, Mercury, Mars, Pluto, Jupiter, Uranus. You want to make a change? This is it. This is a great day for change. This doesn't get much better. You will have to make a change that might be a little uncomfortable. You might have to sacrifice your comfort because Jupiter is comfort, especially in Taurus. Like, oh yeah, I just want more comfort. I want to upgrade my my Rav4 for an Escalade, right? I mean, that's Jupiter and Taurus. Yeah, I really need that pair of Tibetan lamb fleece lined shoe or whatever, right? Or slipper. That's Jupiter and Taurus. Jupiter and Taurus loves comfort, But today there's a challenge. Today is a day where it's like, yep, skip dessert. This is a skip dessert day. It's tempting. It's tempting, especially if you have some resolve and you decide that you're going to change your life. There are going to be people around you that are going to want to keep you, and they'll entice you with comfort. They'll entice you with ease, right? It's like, no, we don't want to lose you. Oh no. Why are you doing that? Why are you deciding to change your life all of a sudden? You have such a good job. You have such a good lifestyle. Why would you want to do that? That's kind of the blowback for today. But if you are resolute and determined, today's one of those days where you can make some changes, right? New moon in Leo and shaking off the shackles here. And this is what's happening to humanity. I mean, how many more times do we need an event where we all sit around and scratch our asses and go, what the fuck? Right? It's trickling down. When Tim Pool talks about directed energy weapons on Maui, you know that this thing is trickling down. Tim Pool would have never talked about that 2 years ago. Never. Right? Tim Pool's about as mainstream and literacy as you can get when it comes to this stuff. So this is a great day, right? And if you've been, man, I tell you, I worked so intensely yesterday. It was one of the busiest days I've ever had in my career as an astrologer and journalist. I think I did 3 readings yesterday. I set up about 4 more. I had a great conversation with my new friend in Maui, or soon to be back in Maui. And I started at this time of day, 8 o'clock, and I wasn't finished until roughly 8:30 last night. Right. So it was a full on 12-hour plus day. And you're going to have that right now and just take advantage of it. Right. This is when make hay while the sun shines. Well, use all your tools while we have this grand earth trine and make some headway here. So if you want to get out, if you want to break away, doesn't get much better than today. Maybe tomorrow. But why put off tomorrow when you can accomplish today? Now, let's take it out of the employment realm. Let's talk about a relationship. If there's a relationship where you've got zombie handcuffs on and you want to break out of it, today's the day. And let's say you want to focus on your work, you want to focus on your mission or your purpose. Your mission and purpose of work are waiting for you. Like, well, it's about time, right? Well, let's go. Let's get going. Now, I'm not saying that every relationship should be put under scrutiny of the magnifying glass of your body, mind, and spirit. That's not true. But there are those of you who know that if you are in a relationship that has a compromised immune system, right? And you know that you're kind of hanging by a thread. Well, today's one of those days where you might clip that thread. And I think good relationships are worth a fortune. You cannot overvalue a really good relationship. So if you have a really good relationship, I would find a way to work together a bit more with this grand trine, clearly. But if you're not, and you feel like you want to put your foot on the accelerator and your other foot's on the brake, and the brake is the relationship that is not working or has lost a significant amount of passion. Well, today's the day to break chains. Take off the zombie handcuffs, because it's not going to get much better than this, right? Tomorrow, the moon will be approaching Virgo tomorrow, right? So it doesn't have that same kind of robust and passionate expression in Leo. Like, the confidence to break free won't be any higher than it is today. And in fact, in Virgo, it may be more circumspect. And by the way, if you do make a change today and the moon goes into Virgo, please don't doubt yourself. Please don't doubt yourself. Give yourself at least 24 hours so the moon can catch up to Mercury and Mars. You go, yes, I made the right choice. This is the right choice. Saturn's at 4 now. And on Sunday night, we looked at Saturn, and man, it was singleton, right? It was total singleton on Sunday night. Now, today we have some oppositional energy coming into play with Saturn, mostly with the moon, right? And by tomorrow, we will have that moon-Saturn opposition clearly in Virgo. So if you do make a move, right, you're going to have to withstand the onslaught of Saturn. Why did you do that? You had it so good. You got to weather the storm. Parental criticism. Parental criticism. So if you are making big changes, either the parent in you or the parent outside of you will say, I don't know why you did that. You were always so impatient. You were always so impetuous. Where did we go wrong? We did everything in our power to show you how to live in a mature. I never got that conversation because they knew that I was too far gone at that point. Anyway, there you go. This is a Nike day. Just do it. Just do it. All right. Now, today's star of the day. There were some interesting people today. I'll tell you what's really interesting is today is the birthday of both Frank Gifford and Kathy Lee Gifford. I thought that was really interesting that these two people would eventually find each other and they would be born on the same day, different years. Obviously, Kathy's a little bit younger than Frank. But you can see, anytime you have a sun-sun conjunction in a synastral chart, it's always good, right? It's like relating to that person is easy. It just depends on where they're going to line up in your chart, right, or each other's chart. So, yeah, they had the sun-sun conjunction in Leo, and Kathy Lee Gifford was a gospel singer, and I vaguely remember that she was living in L.A. and CBS had a gospel show. They had like a praise show, which I thought was really interesting. So she moved through the gospel circuit, and some of the people on the gospel circuit are decidedly less Christian than you would think. I've read stories about Amy Grant and Michael W. Smith and how really deep down inside they are not real Christians, but that's for another show. So they found each other, and then of course she got tabbed by Regis, and Regis had a regional show down in LA. It was his morning show, and he said, how would you like to be my co-host? And she said yes, and then they got picked up by ABC. So that's your genesis of Kathy Lee and Frank was living in LA because he was doing a lot of commercials, and he was big on Monday Night Football. But anyway, kind of interesting that they both share the same birthday. They're not our star of the day. Charles Bukowski, America's greatest debauched, drunken Skid Row poet, his birthday is today. But he's not this. There's only one star of the day today. And it's the most starry star of the day that there probably could be in some ways. And please don't hate me when I unveil our star of the day, because to do so would be less than honest. And you may not like her, but you cannot deny the star power. That's Madonna. Madonna's our star of the day, and she has a really she has an interesting chart, right? Like when I talk about Madonna, I use her Pluto in the 12th house, just like I use Tom Brady's Pluto in the 12th house, just like I use um, Whitney Houston's Pluto in the 12th house. I don't think Tom Brady has Pluto. I had to revisit that. Trump does. Muhammad Ali does. Madonna does. There's somebody else who has Pluto. Anyway, people that have Pluto in the 12th house seem driven, right? Like it's in their soul. The 12th house is the house of the soul. And you can see why Madonna is an attention whore. She's a 12th house sun. Are you kidding me? Right? She's a 12th house sun, desperately, desperately trying to be seen. And she's diminutive. What is she, like 5'4" or something like that? So not only is she a 12th house sun, but she doesn't show up in a room and envelop the room. She's not a large person. She's no Celine Dion, right? Celine Dion's tall. What's interesting is Madonna genealogically is actually related to Celine Dion. I've talked about this before. Celine Dion, Shania Twain, Hillary Clinton, what's her name? Alanis Morissette, and Madonna and Angelina Jolie. They're all related. They all share the same bloodline, and they all have a bloodline that's related to France, and they're all from kind of the same region, like Michigan, Canada, that Toronto area. Um, what else? Illinois, right? That's where Hillary Clinton. So they're all related, right? They're all bloodline, which is pretty interesting. But and Angelina Jolie, of course, born in France. But here we go. She's driven. She's got Pluto. She has the sun. She has Uranus. Part of Madonna's challenge is just not being seen, right? But what song do we know Madonna? That where does she really break through? Well, there are two songs. One is Borderline, which is like a borderline personality. The other is what? Like a Virgin, and she's a Virgo rising, and she has Mercury there, and she has Ceres there, and she has the moon in Virgo, right? So yeah, so she is clearly, identified with her ascendant, and of course the song has some deeper implications. Let's put it that way. But there's also something about the absolutely insane perfection of the form that Madonna suffers from, right? Like she's just gone through all these hideous plastic surgery. I don't even know if she's alive right now. Whatever happened a couple months ago, there have been no Madonna sightings since then, right? And she has been pretty much everywhere, right? Everywhere in terms of her persona. Like very few years. Every now and then, Madonna would sort of duck back into her 12th house, right? But you can see the adverse effects of the plastic surgery. And even with Pluto here, Pluto is just 7 degrees off the ascendant, and she's obsessed, right? She's obsessed with changing her form. She's obsessed with staying young and youthful, which is what we associate with Virgo. We associate that with Virgo. Virgo is very youthful, right? It is virginal. It's like untouched, right? And so she's gone through all of these major surgeries in order to transform how she appears to the world. And unfortunately, she looks hideous, absolutely hideous. She has Venus in Leo. Man, she's just stacked in Leo, right? What does she have here? She's got the Sun, Pallas, Uranus, Venus in the 11th house. And I think Madonna is one of those people who's lonely. She's got Venus, and it's very social there, but she can't have enough. She's insatiable in terms of being recognized and seen and having an entourage, right? She had all this. If you haven't seen the movie Kiss and Tell, is that what it's called? Or Kiss and Dare, or whatever, Truth or Dare, right? The documentary that she did. It's been a while. It's actually a really interesting documentary. And there are some fascinating moments between her and Warren Beatty and Kevin Costner, who goes backstage and asks for an autograph. And after Kevin Costner leaves the camera, she turns to the camera and goes like this. It's actually really funny. But she's in this romance with Warren Beatty, who is an Aries, by the way. And he's kind of calling her out a little bit. He's like, why are you doing all this? Why do you have to have all this? And it's that Venus and Leo in the 11th, and she doesn't care. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's her, Island of Lost Boy gay dancers or whomever, right? She has this insatiable need to be seen and to be loved and to kind of be the center of attention in social situations. That's the Venus square to Jupiter and Neptune. And I think Madonna has a really hard time trusting people. That's the other side of the Madonna story, right? The Venus Neptune square, you get burned enough, who are you going to trust? You're going to have to really grow some deep faith, right? That after you've burned 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or how many times, that ultimately you'll forgive people and it won't matter. And then you can be charitable. She's got that true note in Libra. So she's desperately looking for a relationship. She's really looking for a relationship. And I'm sure she's had quite a few, and some might be more interesting than others. But at the end of the day, I can tell you that this woman is unfulfilled. And who knows if she's ever coming back, right? What's interesting, too, here is that the 2 men that she married were from either a different culture or a different country. Now, I don't believe she married Carlos Leon, but I do believe he was not born in the United States. I could be wrong about that, but that's all very 9th house, right? Her men, Mars and Taurus, are going to be from a different culture or a different country. Who does she marry? She marries Guy Ritchie. Where is he from? He's from England. That's a 9th house male, right? That's Mars in the 9th house. And of course, being a Catholic, Madonna is also a heretic. And she has that Mars-Uranus square. So she's going to be rebellious. And the 9th house represents Orthodox religions. So there you go, right? Like Madonna's a bad girl. Remember how they didn't want her to play in Italy? She was really, during a certain point in time, she was like the female version of Prince, or Prince was the male version of Madonna. Why didn't they hook up? I don't think there would have been enough mirrors in the room for the 2 of them. Anyway, Chiron and Aquarius, the 6th house. She's a hard worker. I mean, clearly, she's an insane fitness freak. Mars squares Chiron, right? So she's always kind of working to fit in. And in the 6th house, there can also be with Chiron an obsession with the body. And you can see her go through these trends and changes. She tries to shapeshift like Bowie, but she doesn't really always pull it off. My feeling about Madonna is that, when she did that Ray of Light record, to me, she had reached kind of the zenith. Like she had broken through a lot of the illusion and a lot of the form and a lot of this Neptunian stuff, right? And it's a great record. And William Orbit did an amazing job producing it. And it was like, okay, she got it, right? She got it. She found her soul, right? She found her essence in that 12th house. And she started doing yoga. And then the next thing you know, she's running around with the Red Bracelet crew. And then, she gets swept up in Kabbalah and Trudy Styler and all these people, right? The Red Bracelet, the Kabbalah water. And she's off making, kind of a dirty dance record down in France after she makes this masterpiece, Ray of Light. It was like, okay, stop. Just stop. You hit it. You broke through. You go open a restaurant somewhere. But she can't do that, right? She's desperately, desperately seeking Madonna. There you go. There's your star of the day. All right. By the way, she has some songs, man, that are pretty good. I'm not a huge fan of her entire catalog. The Ray of Light record is really good. And Live to Tell is a great song. Absolutely great song. Kind of a hidden masterpiece of the 80s. Madonna. There you go. Star of the day. Hey, we're going to be over on 15 minutes of flame in about a little over a half hour. And we're going to get into more of the stuff on Maui, but I'm also going to kind of dive into the Trump thing because I haven't really addressed these absolute ridiculous indictments that Trump is being hammered with. And I just feel like it's time to kind of pull the covers back. And I'm not a huge Trump guy, right? I like the idea of Trump, the execution. Well, I shouldn't probably use execution. I like the idea of Trump. The application of Trump is a little bit different than the idea, um, if you know what I'm saying. But we're going to get into it, and I'm actually going to be on Donald Trump's side with these ridiculous fucking indictments. So join me over there on 15 Minutes of Flame. That's OV. We'll do some Maui. We'll do some Trump. And if you are interested in some CBD, well, listen. CBD is an amazing thing. And I've been reading about Jake Plummer, who I'm going to try to get on the Sirius Sports Show. And Jake Plummer played football for the Denver Broncos and the Arizona Cardinals. And Jake Plummer had CBD. He swears that CBD changed his life. Like, this is a guy that suffered a lot of trauma and injury with pro football, right? A lot of trauma and injury. And CBD, let's see, where are we? We'll do this. How do I? No, don't want to do that. Let's see. Chrome tab. Come on, Chrome tab. Come on, Chrome tab. You know, I'm just going to have to fucking, sometimes technology. I'm usually good at technology. Sometimes technology sucks. Anyway, Jake Plummer, I read this yesterday, really credits his post-traumatic football life and his recovery from all of his injuries to CBD. He's a big proponent of CBD. And that said, truehempscience.com is your best online source for CBD. Why? Because my buddy Chris has gone in and handcrafted very specific formulas for specific uses. There's water-based, water-soluble, there's alcohol-based, there's spagyrics, right? There's the edibles, there's the salves. Please go there, check it out. If you're looking to improve the quality of your life and health, hey, we've got Mercury and Mars in Virgo. We got the new moon in Leo. This could be a great time to do that. Go to truehempscience.com. You spend $100 or more, and you type in 15MINS. 15MINS, and you're going to get free product with your order. $150 or more gets you free shipping. Always a 30-day money-back guarantee. You can even go on to a site, and you can make an appointment so you can talk to him about what CBD works for you. It's that simple. All right, little housekeeping. Tonight, I will be on with the great Dr. Narco Longo over on Old School Florida. If I had a little effects button, I'd be hitting it right now, and you'd be hearing the rousing applause of a Coliseum stadium-sized crowd. I'll be on there. We're going to be talking new moon in Leo, the moon in general, right? So it's going to be a really interesting kind of late-night dive into astrology with one of the rising young stars on the internet, my astrological son, Dr. Narco Longo. So please join us over there tonight. All right. Thank you, everybody. Oh, we have a birthday song. Okay. So this is for Evangeline, whose birthday it is. I hope she's still around. And when I got knocked out, the birthday song got knocked out of the queue. So I really like this one. I played it before. It's a little cheesy. It's a little cheesy, but it's a good birthday song. Oh, why don't we do this? Evangeline, we're going to take a trip into the past. We're going to do a Venus retrograde here. And you are going to get happy birthday. Happy birthday from Alfalfa. Here we go. And hopefully it plays. Sometimes This shit doesn't play on StreamYard. All right, here we go.
All right, everybody, here comes the cake. Come on, boys. Start playing, darling.
Why am I excited when my heart feels so glad? Everyone's invited for the best time ever had. It's somebody's birthday today. It's somebody's birthday today. The candles are lighted on somebody's cake, and we're all invited for somebody's sake. And old-fashioned table is set for a day that we'll never forget. Happy birthday to you and many more too, because it's your birthday today. Ah! Pineapple! Not bad!
So happy birthday, Evangeline. Take good care. Everybody else, bye for now.